Oh no, mister. You are grounded!
Welcome to WatchMojo's Cartoon Countdown. And today we're counting down our picks for the worst things that happened to Butters on South Park. Number 10, getting harassed by his psychiatrist. One of the most innocent things kids do is play pretend. Whether it's a superhero or a firefighter, children love to use their imagination to explore all walks of life. Butters is no different. As a carefree kid, he enjoys playing as Inspector Butters or even Professor Chaos. But since his parents have no clue, he's misdiagnosed as having dissociative identity disorder, or multiple personality disorder as it was called in those days. Unlike Butters, however, his psychiatrist actually does have this condition and repeatedly torments him with an assortment of personalities.
Is one of your other personalities trying to take over? Let's play Battleship! All hands on the poop deck! Your soul will bleed for eternity!
From chasing him on a tricycle to forcing him to rob a jewelry store, the ever-expanding list of characters puts poor Butters through the ringer. Number 9, being tricked into believing it's the apocalypse. To take his place at Kyle's birthday, Cartman informs Butters that a meteor is on a collision course for Earth and tricks him into hiding in a bomb shelter. Cartman has to keep up the charade longer than expected, making Butters think that the world has ended and everyone he's ever loved is gone.
Oh God, it was horrible. What happened?
All the while, Butters' parents and the rest of the town are sent into a panic. When Butters finally learns what's really going on, the duped expression on his face is both one of the funniest and one of the saddest things you'll ever see. Number 8, being forced to gain weight. Kenny used to die in almost every episode, and when Butters temporarily took his place in season 6, he too was regularly put in hazardous situations. For starters, the boys made him gain an unhealthy amount of weight as part of a get-rich-quick scheme. When Butters can't lose weight fast enough, they perform totally unsafe and illegal liposuction surgery in his living room. After getting abandoned by his so-called friends mid-surgery, Butters is scorned by his parents, who won't even help their visibly unwell son up to his room. If you think there's nowhere to go but up after this ordeal, guess again. Cartman later impersonates Butters on the phone with his parents, resulting in a beating that, while taking place off-screen, was clearly brutal.
Hi, Mom and Dad.
Don't you hi, Mom and Dad, us, you little punk!
Number 7, being sent to a conversion therapy camp. Through a series of misunderstandings, Steven catches an oblivious Butters with his mouth in range of Cartman's downstairs. Even though Steven has done his fair share of experimenting, he decides to send Butters to a so-called conversion therapy camp for bi-curious boys. It goes about as well as you'd expect. The more Butters is told he's just confused, the more confused he becomes.
This is what makes you confused!
As bad as we feel for Butters throughout this episode, we feel even worse for his accountability Bradley and all the other boys being repressed at the camp. While Butters doesn't entirely understand what's going on, he nonetheless gives an empowering speech that shows Bradley it's okay to be yourself, and the only ones who are really confused are the counselors.
You know what I think? I think maybe you're the ones who are confused.
Yeah. Number 6, wetting himself on stage. Even the most famous performers in the world can get a case of nerves. It's talent show time in South Park, and Butters has been busy practicing in his garage. After giving Jimmy some advice on how best to deal with the perils of adolescence, he's ready to do his little song and dance number at the competition.
Lou, I've got some.
The music comes on, he starts to sing, and then it all goes blank. Overcome with anxiety, he loses bladder control, and the last thing we see is him running off stage as Garrison cleans up the mess. It's a performance he'll unfortunately never forget. Number 5, being forced to fake his own demise. To infiltrate Heidi's slumber party, one of the boys must fake his death and go undercover as a girl. Since Kenny dies constantly, you'd think he'd be the natural choice, but instead, Butters draws the short straw. As their son stands atop a building, Steven and Linda don't help the situation by saying that they'll only ground him for a couple of weeks if he comes down. As awful as Butters' parents are, they are heartbroken when the pig cadaver standing in for their son hits the pavement. This grief leads them to resurrect Butters Pet Cemetery style. When Butters shows up alive and well, his parents assume they've created a monster and chain him in the basement where he can eat.
It's hungry! Yes, it must feed.
Number 4, living with tap dancing trauma. Being a victim is one thing, but living with the guilt of accidentally hurting others can also be traumatic. In this episode, we learn that Butters was once a tap dancing champion, but he vowed never to perform again after a tragedy. The tragedy in question saw Butters' shoe fly off mid-performance, causing a gore-filled accident that claimed 8 lives. Well, 11 if you want to get technical. After years of feeling remorse, Butters is given the confidence to put his tap shoes back on and compete again. So what happens the minute he steps back into the spotlight? History repeats itself and the rival dance team perishes. The good news? South Park wins by default. The bad news? Butters is more emotionally scarred than ever. Number 3. Getting a ninja star thrown in his eye. Typically, it's Kenny who would find himself with a ninja star in his eye. In this case, though, it's Kenny who throws the weapon at Butters. While Butters miraculously survives and isn't permanently blinded, the pain he endures throughout the episode is more than we can bear. As if the initial blow isn't agonizing enough, the boys cook up a half-baked scheme to dodge trouble by dressing Butters up as a dog. Believe it or not, the plan works, and all the medical professionals in town mistake Butters for a canine. Number 2. Forced allergic reaction. According to the Mayo Clinic, anaphylaxis is, quote, a severe, potentially life-threatening allergic reaction. People all over the world can experience this terrible condition when exposed to various allergens. Apparently, Butters is one of those people. Instead of revealing the truth about what Cartman is up to, Butters swallows an almond M&M he clearly knows he's allergic to, and ends up hospitalized.
Is that an M&M? It's an almond M&M. I'm very allergic to almonds.
Cartman confronts him, and while Butters swears he kept his secret, Cartman feeds him more candy in an attempt to silence him.
Shh, it's okay, Butters. Nobody's gonna find the election ballots.
It is cold, it is cruel, and it is heartless. Number 1. Being left to drown by his mother. While Butters' tragic home life had previously been hinted at, this one took things to depraved new territory.
Inspector Butters gets all the facts. I even got some neato pictures.
Finding out that Stephen, or Chris as he was originally called, has been seeking some extracurricular fun outside of their marriage with men, a distressed Linda prepares to take her own life. Unwilling to leave her son without a mother, however, she decides that the most rational thing to do is abandon Butters in a sinking automobile. While Butters makes it out alive and Linda quickly regrets her actions, this doesn't change the fact that she attempted to drown her son. Even after confessing on television, however, there are no ramifications whatsoever. South Park has the worst child protective services ever, and Butters is Exhibit A.